Hello, kidney warriors. James here from Dadvice TV, your online kidney health coach, and this is another episode of Dadvice TV Live. We are approaching 350 episodes of Dadvice TV, where we share information that helps you live better with kidney disease. And it's all done through knowledge, talking to professionals in the industry, talking to dietitians, talking to nephrologists, researchers, scientists, all sorts of people. The more you know, the more empowered you are to take control of your kidney disease and not let it hold you back. Now, we all know one of the most important things you can do to put the brakes on kidney disease, to slow the progression, is reducing protein in your urine if you have protein leakage, which is also known as proteinuria. I try to keep the words simple. I don't like saying all those complicated medical words. That was not too bad of a tongue twister like some of the other ones. Now, if you find this information helpful at all tonight, please give the video a thumbs up. Give us a comment, let us know what you like, and make sure you're subscribed to Dadvice TV. I love watching our community grow and grow and grow, and it makes it easier to get more people to come on here and share their knowledge, their tips, their advice about living better with kidney disease. Now, let's go ahead and welcome my co-host back for his second visit. Please give a great big giant Dadvice TV welcome to Dr. Yarnell. Hey Doc, how you doing?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Hey, always great to have you here. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your background so people know who you are?
Yes, I'm a naturopathic physician. I'm based in Seattle, Washington. And I know some people are going to know that term and other people have no idea what that means. But so we're a type of licensed physician in about half the states. And I've chosen in my career, I'm about to hit my 30th year in practice, to focus on kidney problems. So that's pretty unusual in my profession. But yeah, so I've had a lot of, my main focus is on natural treatments, herbs, food, minerals, vitamins, all those sorts of things. So that's more what I'm going to be addressing tonight, because that's my experience.
Awesome. And I just noticed that when I bring the messages up, the font is micro small. And I'm
It's
trying
pretty
to
small.
fix that. Yeah. The good news is, everybody, Dr. Yarnell and I can both see your comments on the edge of the display here. So we can read it, even though in the stream it's appearing teeny tiny. All right. Let's talk about, how can I reduce the protein in my urine? And I've heard a lot of conversations about prescription medications, but we're going to take it beyond that. What tips and advice do you have for us?
And we have only 1 hour or less than an hour to go into this. So one answer I'm going to give is there's a lot to talk about. So we're probably not going to get to everything, but I actually want to start off and talk about cordyceps mushrooms, which is maybe, I don't know if that's probably come up in 350 episodes,
First,
but I
I
don't
learn
know.
something every episode, and I have a
Oh,
feeling
exciting.
tonight I'm going to learn a lot.
Yeah, and unfortunately it's going to be a couple of tongue twisters, but yeah, cordyceps is the name of this mushroom. So this has become very famous because of this television show, The Last of Us, which is, anyway, it's this kind of silly future thing where this mushroom mutates and it like takes over people and turns them into zombies. That does
Yep.
not happen, luckily. But this is an incredible treatment for getting the protein down in the urine, and it also helps repair the nephrons in the kidneys. So you'll also see GFR numbers coming up. Of course, it depends how severe is someone's CKD, how severe is
Mhm.
their what exactly is causing their kidney disease. But before I say anything else about cordyceps, I want to start off and say it is quite an endangered species. So the wild cordyceps mushrooms have been really over harvested. So we have to be very careful about where we get it. Otherwise, we could drive it into extinction. Then we don't. Then no one has access to
Ah, yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
So, luckily, there are two different ways you can get it that it's been cultivated. Right, it's been grown either in a vat. I'll talk about how that's done, or essentially in a greenhouse. So, all mushrooms, all fungi have two forms that they grow in. They have this funny word that's called the mycelium,
Hmm.
which are like little fibers that are in the soil, and you can't see them. They're small, but if you were to dig in and really look closely, you can see that this is in all soil. And they also have the part that grows above the ground, which cordyceps, this whole zombie thing got that way because this mushroom does basically infect insects, spiders, and basically it grows out of their bodies. So it's really crazy looking. If you're at a computer, you should definitely look up cordyceps mushrooms to see the incredible pictures of this thing. So they can grow that mycelium in a vat and then put it in a capsule. But that doesn't work as well. The When they grow the mushroom above, in the greenhouse, that works much better. So I'm recommending people consider taking that form, which would be sometimes called the fruiting body, if you can believe that, because
Uh-huh.
that's like a part that makes spores so it can spread the mushroom around. And anyway, that's kind of the form of that. So the specific product, which I have no particular connection, or the company that I know that's worked the best, that I've seen the greatest results from, is from a company called Real Mushrooms, and they're, yeah, cordyceps mushrooms. So luckily this is in a capsule. So yeah, I see a couple of people commenting they're maybe not big fans of eating mushrooms. Great, it's just a capsule.
I
You're
don't
not
like
going
to
to
eat
taste
them at
any.
all either. Capsule sounds so much better.
Exactly. Let's just bypass any issue with taste. Um, and yeah, that should help you out, Debbie. So you won't have to chew on them or anything. And it's not very good tasting either, so you will be glad that I'm suggesting that. And for a lot of people, that would be like 1,000 milligrams twice a day.
Hmm.
It doesn't seem to matter if you take it with or without food, but that's something I see pretty consistently. So, especially if the underlying issue is if someone has diabetes or they have high blood pressure, of course, the two most common causes of chronic kidney disease, that's where it's going to work well. So yeah, I've seen another comment that that company does also have this cordyceps in a powder.
Yep.
So if you prefer that, you don't swallow capsules well or whatever, you can mix that into water. Again, it's just got kind of an earthy taste. I don't know. It's not great. It's not terrible, but you can certainly mix that with some blueberries, some fruit. Make kind of a smoothie if you don't like the taste. That will cover it pretty easily.
Interesting.
So
Yeah, I looked it up right here, um, and I have some photos of it. Here, let me bring these up on here.
yeah, they're so cool.
So this is them, right?
Look at those crazy. Yes, that's it. So you see that one where it's like the three that are stacked up by each other?
Yep, the
That's a
first
really
one.
good one. Actually, go down two rows and then one over. Yeah, that one.
Yep.
That's a really good one. So that's where so the most famous one infests these kinds of caterpillars, and then you can kind of see where
Yeah.
it's growing up out of its body. Yeah, it's just incredible.
Oh my goodness. So I watched, or I've only seen, I think, the first two or three seasons of that show on HBO, and I didn't realize it was based on a little bit of truth. Um, even though it's zombies and all that, that part's not
Yes,
real.
that's
Um,
not real.
but it's interesting that they take this mushroom, and I looked up is this the real mushrooms you're talking about?
That's the one. That's the people.
Aha.
Yeah, I see there was a question about the spelling. So yeah, it is. Maybe if we bring it up on there, then people can see the spelling. It's Cordy, Yep,
Yeah,
that's it. CEPS.
there we go, right there.
Oh, look at that one. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, so it's kind of gross, but trust me, you're not going to taste anything like that. Now, a little side note, if someone is very strictly vegan, the wild mushroom does have insect parts mixed in with it, but that's probably not going to bother too many folks. But the grown kind, they're not growing it in the insects, so it's totally safe, even if you're completely vegan for that front. So, yeah, that's just a real easy tip. It's completely safe. Um, that's also interesting. We could maybe have another whole talk about using that in people who've had a kidney transplant because it does
Aha.
partly work on the immune system, and that often gets conventional nephrologists pretty nervous when they hear that if someone's on a transplant. But we actually have good studies that it really helps people who've had a transplant. So we don't need to go into that all tonight, but it's just another interesting aspect of it.
Now, are there any concerns with this impacting your gut health or anything like that?
Only only positively possibly, but I'd say mostly none. Yeah, it really, I don't know, having had so many people try this, certainly in the couple hundred, I've really seen no side effects. It's very, very safe. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'm definitely going to have to learn more about this and the whole how it kind of takes over the insects and uses them as a
Yes.
host.
So another slightly interesting about that. So it's native to Tibet and Nepal, so way up high in the Himalayas, and it so these particular caterpillars that it really likes to infest where it comes from, and there are hundreds of species, but I'm talking about the main medicinal
Hmm.
species. It it basically has this life cycle where every few years those caterpillars hatch, and then the fungus can infest them. So actually, its Tibetan name refers to the fact of this life cycle. It's like basically it's describing how it grows. It's really fascinating. But it's also then was taken up into traditional Chinese medicine, and then eventually we learned about it in the West. So it's been used for a long, long, long time in traditional medicine. But now we also have lots of studies that support that. And that's the other reason I wanted to start with that is because we do have really good, studies about this being effective, being safe. A couple of other things I'll probably get to mentioning will be not as well studied, but I figured
Hmm.
let's start right out of the gate with something we have some good solid evidence for. It's not just me saying it. You can go research it yourself and see there's plenty of human studies, supporting it being helpful.
Yep. Are there any concerns with any medication interactions or anything like that?
None known. Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
So I don't know, should I run on the herb front some more? Or I don't know, there's been quite a few questions about diet that I notice have been scrolling by, so I could divert over to discussing that too.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions about. Of course, diet is one of those things that when you're first diagnosed, as a kidney patient, you feel completely lost. What can I eat? It seems like everything is bad for you. And then when we go to the internet, so much of the information is based on dialysis. So it's saying, restrict like potassium. And then we find out, oh wait, I'm stage 3. I need potassium to protect my heart. I can't be restricting it. So there's tons of confusion there. And as we learn more, I kind of feel it gives us back some of that lost control because we feel like, oh, now I know what all I can buy, or what I can get, what I can eat, how much I can have. Because there's so many questions. I'll tell you a quick funny story. When I first got started, my doctor said, you got to watch your sodium. You really, really got to reduce it. Well, I took it too far. And my wife and I, we tried to make zero sodium chili. And we got darn close to zero sodium. It was awful. We could not eat it. It was so bad tasting. And I thought, oh no, this is the rest of my life eating awful tasting food. And then I learned you just got to not go overboard with it. So if
Yeah,
you'd
you
like
can
to
have a
share some diet
little.
advice, that's great. A lot of people are asking, or there's several people have asked, the DASH diet.
Yeah, I'm a very big fan of that. This partly gets to this question that you've brought up regarding potassium, but also this issue of protein, which also I see as a couple people are asking about that or mentioning. And what's partly become clear is that the so first to address the potassium issue. So logically, it made sense that people were, if your kidneys are not doing well, you get into later stages of kidney failure. You can't get rid of the potassium, it starts to build up in your blood. So logically, you don't want as much coming in so your kidneys don't have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that logic is, though, potassium is so important for your heart, for really everything in your body, but it's especially critical. Your heart needs a certain amount or it's not going to work. And so, anyway, but there was also this problem of if you just analyze how much potassium is in a food, especially plants. So
Mm-hmm.
you go and measure like how much is in a banana. Okay, so there's a certain amount. It's a lot. Everyone knows bananas have a lot of potassium in them. Well, then the assumption was you're going to absorb all of that and you're going to have this huge amount of potassium coming in. But the problem with what we found out is that's not true because there's fiber in the banana,
Mm-hmm.
and dietary fiber slows down the absorption. Yeah, it's super important. It slows down the absorption of the potassium, and it actually blocks like half of it from being absorbed. It's stuck to the fiber, and we can't get access to it. So the amount that's like on the website or on the paper in the book that says
Mm-hmm.
here's how much potassium is in the banana, you have to cut that in half, right? That's just like the fiber gets rid of that. So right away, this sort of fear and even a little bit obsession with avoiding fruits and vegetables because of their potassium content is way overstated. And
Yep.
because when you take away those, you're also losing all this other crucial stuff that's great for people's kidneys, vitamins, carotenoids, the fiber itself. So I do really try to push people to eat as much of those foods as they can. Of course, we have to watch the potassium level in the blood, but
Mm-hmm.
my experience is we can really have people eat a lot and we don't see that going up. There's also a trick. Now this trick is a little bit dicey to do on your own. So I'm a little hesitant to bring it up too much, which is to use licorice, the herb licorice. Now,
Uh-huh.
I'm not talking about licorice candy, like the Twizzlers red rope candy. Like those don't have actual licorice in them.
Right. Oh, I
They
used to
just have,
love authentic Australian licorice, which was real.
yes.
Oh, I used to
Mhm.
love that a long time ago.
Now, the, so licorice lowers the potassium levels in your blood. So there's a potential it could make it go too low, right? We don't want that either. We need and I'm talking about basically your blood levels of potassium here. We don't want them too high, which is the problem with
Mhm.
later kidney failure. We don't want it to go too low by taking too much. If your potassium goes too low, the key thing is your blood pressure is going to go up. We really don't want that if you
Right.
have kidney problems,
Exactly.
right? So you don't want to take the licorice. If your potassium levels in your blood are normal, don't take the licorice. You don't need it. You don't want it. If it's high, that's one thing you can do to lower it. We just need to see that the blood, so that's something you would need to work with your doctor, your caregiver, whoever it is, to make sure they're testing your blood and that potassium is staying in the normal range and that you're testing your blood pressure regularly at home because you can detect it going up even before the blood test sometimes, and you'll know, oops, I took too much. So usually for that, again, there you can get licorice in a capsule, but you would, um, so yeah, you really, we're not really talking about licorice candy because there's going to be added sugar, there's going to be added dyes and all this stuff that's not
Yeah.
so great. Plus, we can't control the dose. So yes, you someone has died from eating too much licorice candy. That so Kelly brought this point up. So that was someone who was doing it on their own. They didn't know, right? They didn't know it could hurt them. But also it was like an extreme thing where they were eating
Hmm.
huge amounts of it every day, no testing, no tracking. So you're not going to do that, right? Everyone, we've just told you
Right.
you're not going to do that. But that's something you would more want to talk to if you work with a naturopathic doctor, you work with potentially an herbalist, something like that. But anyway, that's a little bit of a trick to put that out there. So anyway, yeah, the DASH diet is actually a fairly high potassium diet. So especially in early stages of CKD, that is a really great diet because it has all that other wonderful food in there. Um, And so, yeah, so I see questions about like what should the potassium be? So like Maxine asked a question about this, and it really is just the laboratory range. So I would say it'd be
Hmm.
between 3.4 and, or excuse me, 3.5 and 5.5 milliequivalents per liter of the units, but 3.5 to 5.5. And that's actually the same. There's different units, but it's the same in Canada or Europe or elsewhere as is in the US. So those numbers. And then in terms of how much you should be eating, well, it's enough that you're in that range, but not above it, and
Exactly.
you're high. You're in the high range of sort of the RDA.
Yeah. When I first got used to understanding my labs, my goal was to get in that range. Because my doc said, hey, if you're in that range, you're good. Doesn't matter where you are in the range, you're good. And then once everything except for my creatinine was in that range, I started tweaking my diet to try to get right in the middle to give me a little bit of buffer. And that was kind of my strategy. And it came down to, medications, of course, but things that I was eating and things that I was not eating. And it really was portion control. And that comment about, if you have too much of the black licorice, you could die. I don't think everyone realized you drink too much water can be deadly.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
everything comes down to finding that right amount that's right for you, and that's what you target, not exceeding that. It's not the hey, a little bit's good for you, so a lot more is a lot better. It's
That's
finding that right balance, that right number.
yes, exactly. So yeah, Mediterranean diet. A couple of people have asked that is another great higher potassium but reasonable diet. And it's got that fiber. And I have to segue and mention this other crucial point, which was the main topic of my last talk of how important that dietary fiber is to feeding your good bacteria in your gut,
Yes.
which we don't, it's so easy to get focused so much on your kidneys that you forget they're connected to the whole rest of you.
Yep.
And that those bacteria in your gut are very important for determining your kidney health. We want to make sure we're feeding the good ones, and then they're going to be making all this stuff that helps your kidneys, and that we're starving bad ones that make harmful things that hurt your kidneys. And that's also where this whole idea of this particular probiotic supplement, the Renadil, comes in, making sure you have the
Got,
right bacteria. Yep,
got one of my
there we
empty
have it.
bottles of it right here. And real quick, they just came out with a multivitamin. It's a gummy. I don't know if you've tried it yet. I've
Yeah,
been
I haven't
I've
yet.
been using them now for a little over a week. I love them. They're fantastic.
Nice. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I need to try it out myself just to see taste wise and
Let
stuff.
me tell you, I
That's
was
right.
surprised at first of all how soft the gummies are, and they've got a good flavor. It's very light. They almost melt in your mouth. So it's not something like a gummy where it gets stuck in your teeth, which is always a concern of mine. I want my original teeth to last my entire life.
Yes,
I don't
you
have to buy
really
any
do.
aftermarket ones. But it was great. They didn't stick. They're easy to chew. Now I chew two of them in the morning when I take all my morning pills. Super easy.
Fantastic. Yeah. So the Renadil probiotic products, besides the multivitamin, is also a really great addition. So either go check that out if you missed that episode, if you want to hear more. But also, it's the having that good amount of fiber in your diet to feed
Hmm.
those bacteria. So you can put them in there, but you got to keep them alive, right? They need the
Yeah.
food, and the fiber is their food. And the bad guys actually eat mostly protein in your diet, which is not a reason to avoid protein or anything. It just means we don't want to have it be excessive. So this is my segue into the protein discussion, which is that, yeah, I'm an advocate for what I would call a moderate protein diet, and this would really only become an issue if you're at stage G3B or worse, so where your GFR is falling below 45, that you would start to think about some protein restriction. Now, but also I would say almost everyone, even with normal kidney function, the average person in the US is eating too much protein. And I
Yeah.
know there's a craze right now. Everyone's like, eat tons of protein, more and more and more. It's like, no, that can cause gout, that can cause heart disease. Like there really is, I think, we've gone too far the other way. So generally the moderate protein is defined as zero point 0.8 milligrams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So it's 2.5 kilograms per pound. So essentially, you can cut your pounds of weight kind of in half to roughly estimate your kilogram of body weight. But for most people, that's in the 60 to 70 grams. I said milligrams before, sorry, zero point 0.8
Yeah.
grams of protein per kilogram. So it's about 60 to 70 grams of protein per day. And that most people feel pretty good on that. They don't feel deprived, like they have
Mhm.
no protein, but that is a decrease. So the average American eats double that amount of
Yeah.
protein. It's too much. It's too much. So even if you're in the earlier stages, I would still say you want to think about moderating that. And it's not that you eat the protein and it goes to your body and comes right out your urine. It's not a direct one-to-one
Hmm.
connection. So it's important to know, like, we're decreasing it actually because, well, there's a lot of reasons. We think it's partly how it interacts with these gut bacteria that I've mentioned. If you eat too much, it is partly that protein is, of course, made up of amino acids, and that's a lot of acid, which your kidneys have to deal with the acid load in your food. They have to balance that out, and that's hard work. So there's a lot of reasons eating too much protein can hurt your kidneys, but it's not. So I know some people almost have this idea like I eat it and it comes right out of my urine or
Yeah.
something, and that's not like that. It's not like that at all.
Yeah. And
So
I've
don't worry
noticed that
too
so
much
many
there.
things at the store now are advertising protein. 19 grams of protein, 24 grams of protein. We really are pushing a high protein diet. I'm going to guess that it's pretty cheap for these companies to load up on the protein, and it sounds healthy when they're all talking about it and the numbers are getting bigger and bigger every time you see the packaging.
Yeah. Debbie asked another really important question about, am I talking about meat protein or all sources of protein? Great question. It does matter where the protein comes from. If you are getting it mostly from meat, that comes with a whole lot of other problematic compounds. It comes with saturated fats, which we need some of that, but too much is clearly harmful. It's coming, depending if your meat is organic or not, it can be coming with all sorts of hormones and chemicals. So, but plant proteins are somewhat preferable. So, but also specifically, who was it? Katian, I don't, maybe I mispronounced your name, but it was asked about eggs. So eggs are kind of the perfect animal product protein. It has a really good balance of what kinds of proteins are in it. They're not extreme. So like one egg typically has like 8 grams of protein. So a couple of eggs is a pretty reasonable amount. But I wouldn't do that necessarily every single day. That would be something you maybe do, on every couple of days. Again, it a little bit depends on what your problem is. So not everyone should run out and immediately eat 2 eggs.
Yeah.
That, we need to always individualize it. But yeah, so more beans, more, and again, also plant protein comes with fiber, it comes with minerals, it comes with vitamins, it comes with this whole package of benefits. So we take food apart and look at the pieces to think about and understand it. But you're not eating single pieces of that, right? You're eating the whole food together. And we have to think about the whole thing. We can't just say meat is protein, because it's not. Meat is all kinds of other stuff,
Hmm.
and it can be detrimental. Again, that's a really particularly a problem with gout. And you may not think about it, but that's really the stuff that leads to gout is actually comes from the DNA that's in the meat. And your body, the way that breaks down, turns into this stuff called uric acid, which that just doesn't happen
Oh,
with plant DNA at all. So,
yep.
yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, and uric acid can build up and lead to gout. There was a time when that was a challenge of mine, and I've gotten that under control and have no problems right now.
Fantastic. Yeah, ooh, yeah, it's painful. And you can
Yeah.
also get kidney stones made of uric acid, which
Oh,
would obviously not be a good thing if you're also
exactly.
having kidney disease.
I had a kidney
So,
stone once. Once was one time too many. I never ever. So that's why I'm always drinking lots and lots of water to hopefully prevent kidney stones, plus, staying properly hydrated.
yeah, that's right. Very important. So, again, we could talk all day and all night about food and what's best, but those are sort of the most general things. So, yeah, we also mentioned the probiotic, the
Mhm.
Renadil, really great too. That can help to lower the proteinuria. That hasn't been as clear in the studies. It's been better at lowering the creatinine level. Also, very important, of course.
Yeah.
But certainly, my experience is that's one thing to really consider. Um, so, keep that in mind.
And Den had asked, where do I buy Renadil? I get it straight from Kibo Biotech. Got to meet them about a month or so ago. They came up to the Detroit area, which is fantastic. And I
Nice.
put the link to them, myprorenal.com. And there is a discount code for Dadvice TV people. Now, the discount code is for the probiotic. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work for their brand new gummy multivitamin.
Mm.
Um, but if I remember right, those are so affordable. I think it's like $19 for a whole thing of them. So take a look at their website, and that's where you guys can get it if you want to order some for yourself. I've been using the Renadil probiotic for 6 or 7 years now. I've been using it for
Wow.
quite a while, and of course, there's a lot of the benefits you've talked about. One of the ones that I think is really important as a user for everyone out there is it keeps me regular, and it's predictable regular, and that is really helpful because sometimes, like, my iron's low and I gotta start taking iron supplements. That is an easy way to back things up, and then you're not feeling well, you're not wanting to go out and do things. This is very helpful at keeping you regular and predictable. That's one of the things I really like about it, as a bonus from everything else that it does.
Yeah, I've heard that many times too from patients. Really great point.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up,
and,
James.
and we don't realize how important that is until you need it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to kind of shift and move back to a couple of other herbal things that I
Mhm.
don't think they're probably folks have heard that much about. They're not very well known. Um, and just to give people other tools and that are also very, very safe. So something that could be available. But the problem with both of these is they're harder to get. They're not as common. So the first, this herb that's called pellitory, kind of a funny name. This comes originally from the Mediterranean, so southern France, Italy. I've always wanted to go to Malta. It grows on Malta, this little island in the Mediterranean.
Yep,
It's
yep, yep.
very beautiful. Yep. But it does grow. So I have actually a friend that grows it here in Washington State. We actually have a pretty temperate climate. It doesn't get super cold or super hot, and that's what this plant likes. So, and pellitory, that word actually is anciently kind of refers to I think it's Latin for a word for smoke, because the way it
Uh-huh.
grows, it kind of will cascade almost like a vine over rocky areas, and it almost looks like smoke when it's really kind of growing up quite a bit. I don't know if you squint your eyes, it's not huge, but anyway, this has actually been the most effective thing for lowering protein in the urine that I've found most consistently. The cordyceps is really close, that mushroom that I started off talking about. So really the only way you can get this is what's called a tincture. So people have maybe seen, these little glass dropper bottles at stores and whatnot with the liquid in them. You can squeeze it up, you see the juice in there. So these are preserved with alcohol. So they take the herb, they mix it with alcohol, and then they let it sit for a while, and then they squeeze out the solution that comes out of it. So it's like an extract into alcohol. So it definitely tastes alcohol-y, but the
Uh-huh.
amount you're going to be taking is tiny. So it's not like you're even getting anywhere near whatever, like drinking alcohol to take what's this tincture. So if you're looking for it, you're not going to find it in capsules. You're not going to find it as a tea. And although I will also caution you, the couple of places that I see online that are offering that are very unlikely to be safe to buy from. I do not
Mm.
trust those people. I've never heard of those companies. They're very dubious quality. So you really just want to stick with a tincture. Yeah, so that's going to be a little bit of searching. Like I say, it's not as common. You're not going to likely to find that just at sort of a local store. You're going to want to look for this online. And you just take, so if you squeeze up this little dropper, that's technically about a milliliter. You can see how it's about halfway full. And we often call that a dropper full, which is funny because it's halfway full, right? So
Yep.
if you know that that's about a milliliter. So you would take about 3 squirts like that would be a dose, typically for an adult. So that's about a half of a teaspoon. So also think about the alcohol content of, like you're taking a shot even. That's maybe 3 or 4 ounces. We're talking about a half a teaspoon. It's like a third of an ounce. So you'll taste alcohol, but it's minimal in case people don't, if you're not an alcohol drinker, you're still not an alcohol drinker taking this tiny bit. Um, so we don't know how it works. There really has not been a study of this. What I can say is, like, if I want to see someone's urine protein go down, I give them this, I give them cordyceps. We almost always see it come down. It takes about 3 months. These are slow. And that's, I think, part of why they're really safe, is they're not rapidly going in your body. And this is one of the problems with drugs, is they kind of force your body to shift really quickly. The herbs are doing it much more slowly, which is then, it's easier on your body to cope with that. It's taste wise, it's okay. It's nothing great. It's nothing terrible. But the trick is just to put it in a little bit of water and dilute
Yep.
it if you don't like the taste, right? If you put it in a lot of water, it almost makes it worse because it's like you're
Ooh.
taking it over and over for a long time.
See, the first time I had and I'm going way back, my first colonoscopy, I had to take the prep, and I've heard it's much better, but it was awful. And I mixed it in a giant thing of water, and it was painful drinking that. I should have just did it as a shot and just got it over with.
Yeah. Don't extend your grief any more than you have to. And this is
Exactly.
much better. This is much better, but still. Yeah, so it's called Pellitory is a fun name for that. Um, and yeah, so there it's an interesting thing. So I teach at the Naturopathic Medical School in Seattle, which is known as Bastyr University. So I've been doing that for 25 years. I've had many, hundreds and hundreds of students. I've taught about kidney medicine and kidney health. And this is the herb that people have come back to me after they've been in practice and say, that works. That was incredible. Thank you so much for teaching me that. It's helped so many of my patients. And this is another reason I'm like really gung ho about it. That's like an unbiased sample, right? I didn't ask them to do that. I didn't force them. It's just sort of their own experience. So really, really, really worth considering. It's very safe. Again, I haven't seen it interact with any other kinds of medications that you would be on typically for kidney disease. Other common medicines, doesn't upset people's stomachs. Yeah, again, it's really, really safe.
Can
It's
you
great.
can you cook with it by chance if you don't like the flavor? Is it one of those things where you can mix it in? Because I know there are some herbs that you can cook with and you're still getting the benefits of them.
I would say mostly no in this case, both because the flavor is not great, so
Mm-hmm.
it's probably going to make it almost anything you put it in taste worse.
Okay,
But
okay.
also, it's just not in a form that's going to be too. But well, I also think the heat would hurt it. I think that would
Mm-hmm.
actually damage. It's much better if it's not heated up. So for this one, I'd say no. Um, but that's great because also I just saw another question pop up about mushrooms, and those would be a really good thing that you could eat. So I was talking about the cordyceps, but actually all edible mushrooms, there's some benefit for your immune system. We don't know as much about all for kidneys, but yeah, those are a really good thing to throw into your food and be able to eat. But yeah, this one not so much. People maybe know a plant that they're not gonna, you would not immediately think you would want to have anything to do with, which is the stinging nettles,
Mm-hmm.
which if you haven't encountered them, they do actually sting you if you go up and touch them. So don't do that. Depending where you are, you may or may not have ever encountered these, but they have all kinds of medicinal purposes. And this herb I've been talking about, pellitory, is in the same family with stinging nettles. Now, pellitory doesn't have the stingers. Good news. But the seeds of the stinging nettle seem to do pretty similar things as the pellitory does. So that sometimes you may also be able to find the stinging nettle seeds. Now, it's not the leaf of
Mm-hmm.
stinging nettle. The stinging nettle leaf, that's really available. That's readily available in all kinds of capsules and all sorts of things. But that actually can really make your kidneys work harder. It kind of pushes more blood through them, and that can be harmful. So most things that are sold as tea are the leaf, and we're going here
I
for
was
the
just about
seeds.
to ask that because
Yeah.
I've seen the teas in the stores and I've seen um, in some social groups people talking about those,
Hmm.
but I've never tried them
So
myself.
yeah, so I know. Well, once the nettle has been harvested, Kelly had a good question. Like, who would ever drink stinging nettles? Well, when you harvest it and dry it, the stingers break apart and they're destroyed. So you don't taste. There's nothing like that. But it really tastes to me like grass. Like it's also not a very pleasant flavor. But anyway, the seeds, again, the nettle seeds, you can really only get as a tincture. Um, and so it's about the same. Everything I just said about the pellitory applies to the nettle seeds. I like the pellitory better. I have seen that work better, but I've also had a lot of patients and other doctors, other herbalists really find the nettle seed working well too. So I wanted to just put those out there because they are related.
Yeah, and is that one easier to find?
Um, it's about a little bit. I think it's a little bit easier. Um, Now you're making me curious to look it up and see, because I
Because
haven't
you know
done
that's
that in
going to be
quite a
one of the
while.
questions that's going to come up is, where do I find
Absolutely.
it? As we've talked
Reasonable
about things, people have been
looking.
asking, where do I get that? Where do I get that?
Yeah. So right away I see, oh, so there's two places I know for sure that I could recommend based on these being friends of mine, people I know. One is an herbal company that's based in New Jersey that's called Herbalist and Alchemist, which is a really fun name. But so they have the nettle seed in the tincture. And then there's also one which is a company that's based out of Maine, which is called Avena, Avena.
There's the
That
Herbalist and
is the,
Alchemist website.
there it is. Yeah, great company, really good products, totally legit. Check to see if they have the Pellitory too. I wonder if they might have that.
Let's see, search, which is
Let's look
P. A, oh, darn it. It
at.
doesn't do a search as I'm typing.
Okay, I
Let me
can
see.
look
I
here
think
in
I
a second.
pasted it. I did. I cut and pasted it.
Okay,
And I
great.
think I spelled it right. Pellitory.
You got it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that they don't have there.
All right, darn. So they've got the nettle seed. Yeah. So this main company is called Avena. So that's another good one that has um, the nettle seed. Let's see what else comes up for Pellitory tincture.
Avena. Avana.
Avena.
Avena.
Okay, so yeah, so I do have another little connection here, which is I have a little company that's called Heron Botanicals. So we only sell to other doctors. So
Uh huh.
because we grow it, like I said, locally, this friend of mine grows it. So that's one place I know for sure you can get it because I want to have it for my patients. But yeah, you can't go and buy it directly from them. So every other source I see of that is highly dubious. Well, there's this one that's called Napier's, but Napier's is only, I think, available in the UK. They do have it. So I don't know if they ship to the United States. They have a US dollar sign there. So that is a good company.
In
So that's spelled
Edinburgh.
Napirs. That's it.
Yep.
Yep. So those are the two that I could say, yeah, you could go to and get a good, safe product. The one, yeah, coming from Napier is going to be coming from Scotland, so it's going to be a long, probably going to be a slow shipping time, but whatever, that's fine. Okay, great. Yeah, great. So I see a couple people mention they've actually have that or have tried it. That's fun. Um, Gosh, I mean, almost anything else we would get into on the herbal front, we need to then start digging into what are the specific causes of the protein in the urine. So, if you have what's called the nephrotic syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
which are various kidney diseases where you lose so much protein in your urine that you get edema all over your body, your face swells up, your hands swell up, that's often that's due to a more complicated situation. There's would be a whole different set of things we'd have to deal with. So it really does matter why the protein's leaking. Let me give a more general example of that, which would be for people that would have the condition called IgA nephropathy,
Yes.
which is, yeah, so that's the most common autoimmune kidney disease. And for that one, everything I've mentioned is helpful, but that one is really clearly triggered by reactions to food allergens, triggered by pollen reactions. So for that, like to really get the protein to go down, we have to treat the cause. We have to get rid of the triggers to stop the body from attacking your own kidneys. So that's not something everyone would do. That's only if you have that very specific problem.
Yeah. Here's a question right here, Kelly, and I've seen this asked before, and I've never had a chance to ask anyone about it. Alpha lipoic acid. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good.
and folic acid says it helps his foot neuropathy. I'm awful at pronouncing words.
Yeah,
A
that's
bit.
good.
Um, is that correct from your experience? where you
So
get
yeah,
the
what we
tingling and almost the
mhm.
feeling of numbness.
Yes, that's what I've mostly used it for. That has mostly been studied in people where that's happening because of chronic diabetes.
Hmm.
So we do have some clinical studies where they've shown that it can help. So yeah, it does seem to more help the nerves, though there's a little bit of evidence it may have an effect in the kidneys. So it's still too early to really be sure. I definitely don't give that out just like to everyone or regularly, but if you are having some of the neuropathy, that numbness and tingling, that is something to consider. It's also, we don't have drug interactions with that. Um, so it's very, very safe. And it's, as supplements go, it's relatively expensive to take a good dose, though, now I'm looking, there's so many products that have come out that it's maybe not even that bad anymore. Typically 600 milligrams twice a day, which it actually looks like you can get that for under $20 a month. So that's actually not even that bad anymore. Just another totally random side note, there is also a treatment of that given intravenously that is incredibly effective for people that have cirrhosis of the liver. Sorry, nothing to do with kidney disease, but just
Yep.
putting it out there as something I've seen be a miracle for something there's almost no treatment for. So whatever, if you have a friend, maybe you could mention that to them. Another supplement that comes up a lot related to kidney stuff is coenzyme Q10 or
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
CoQ10.
CoQ10,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in the new Renadil multivitamin, which is another reason I like it because I was taking that as an additional supplement.
Yeah, and that we have some good, and that seems to work in a really different way. It works in our mitochondria. Everyone may remember from their high school biology class studying the cell and all that. That, of course, is the part of the cell that makes most of our energy, right? It generates this kind of chemical energy, and the kidneys use tons of energy to do all the processing. They do that filtering. They need tons and tons of energy. So those mitochondria are working really hard, and we think the CoQ10 sort of helps support them. They can make all this energy, and that's going to help your kidneys. It's also an antioxidant
Mhm.
that can help protect. So every kind of kidney disease, there's a need for antioxidants. There's these compounds called free radicals that develop mostly from oxygen. We need to help counter that stuff because it can really damage all over your body, but including the kidneys. And this is one that seems pretty darn helpful.
Now, with
You
CoQ10, how much do you typically recommend to a person? Say someone my age, young 50s, pretending I'm in my
I'll,
40s.
yes, I'll do the same. I would typically have people start with 200 milligrams, and that can be just done usually just once a day.
Hmm.
This supplement needs fat to be absorbed. You have to take it with food. They've
Ah,
actually did a they did a very interesting study where they showed if you took it with peanut butter, it was much better absorbed than without any food. So it's not that peanut butter is magical. It's obviously the fat that's in peanut butter.
yep.
So some kind of just with any meal is really the critical thing. So yeah, that's the important thing. It's this one's also really well known for helping your heart, helping lower blood pressure. So those can be some side benefits, even if you're mostly thinking about it to try to help your kidneys. So that's especially if you have what's called congestive heart failure, which could
Mhm.
happen for some folks at the same time with the kidney problem or whatnot. This is one of our really great natural tools to help the heart work better in that case.
Excellent. I did not know about taking it with food. I take mine in the morning with other pills when I would take it.
Yeah, it's not you won't get any benefit, but definitely better um, to get the most benefit by taking it with food.
Now,
Strongly
here's a
encourage.
question I definitely want to bring up. Care asks, Renadil probiotic definitely safe? Well, I've been taking it for a long, long time with no issues. What are your thoughts on it as far as safety?
Extremely safe. Yeah. There's a one very limited time you would be cautious if. So there's a condition called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, where the good bacteria from your colon have basically moved up in your intestines and kind of
Mm-hmm.
taken over in the upper part. So they're still good bacteria, they're just in the wrong place. And in that case, if you're taking them, in a pill, you're putting even more of them in kind of the wrong end. So that could occasionally make that worse. I've seen it just a handful of times. So if you know you have that condition, now it can also help that because it could help regulate which good bacteria are present. So that's not a completely never take it. But if you have that condition, I would say you need to talk to your provider about whether that would be the best choice for you. But
Yep.
other than that, it's fantastic. That's another thing, even that's really great if you've had a transplant. It's really important if you're on dialysis. I know a couple people have, in passing, mentioned they've had to do that recently or have been on dialysis because that you still need a healthy digestive system. That's even more important when you're on dialysis. No drug interactions. Yeah, what can you say? It's fantastic.
Yeah, and for me, for everyone out there, I learned about Renadil from my doctor and my dietitian. My family doctor, who was the one who, when I was in the hospital and there's a nephrologist telling me, you got to go on dialysis, he was the one who said, James, you don't have to go on dialysis. I can help you. We're going to work together. You can get past this. You don't need dialysis right now. He was the one who believed me and helped me to get to where I am today. And we're talking, this was 2018. It's now, we're coming up to the end of summer in 2025. No dialysis, doing so much better because of him. He was the one who recommended it to me. And when I mentioned it to my dietitian, she was like, oh, yeah, I know all about it. And she also recommended some other things for me. So I trust it 100%. Have not had any issues taking it since I was, shortly after I was diagnosed. And I trust it, and I only talk about the things that I trust and that I take. I'm not out here pushing, and there's so many things out there that are scams. Not out here pushing any of those or talking about any of those. I'm very careful because we as kidney patients, we're fighting an uphill battle as it is. The last thing we need to do is take something that's going to push us down that hill.
Yeah, that's right.
Now,
And it's great.
almost,
It's easy because you only need to take one capsule a day. And by the way, that's another one that's much better taken with food.
yes, that one I take with some food. But the idea of taking with peanut butter is a good thing because I keep, well, my background's artificial behind here, but I keep jars of natural peanut butter, just peanut butter and a little bit of salt. And I love that as a snack, whether it's celery, carrots, or just grab a spoonful of it. I'm trying to shift more and more. I'm trying to lower my calories and stuff like that. So, it's a nice snack because it kind of, it covers that desire for a snack for so long. Doesn't take, it's packed with calories, doesn't take much to make me feel great. Someone said, can you start Renadil with an EGFR at 20? Mine was below 20 when I started. I think I was probably like 16 or 17, if I remember right, when I got started with it. And I wrote it all the way up to 35. Someone asked how high I had gotten. And then a few months ago, my doctor put me on Jardiance, which I'm not happy with because it plummeted me to 22. Stopped it, got 29. I've got new labs coming up very soon, and I'm hoping to be back into the 30s. Now we are
Well, I'll be
almost
really
out of
curious if
time.
you take the cordyceps.
I'm
Sorry.
gonna look at ordering these and see. I like that it's in a tablet because I've been trying. Everyone who follows me knows that I've been saying, look, I'm gonna try to cook some mushrooms and add more mushrooms to my food. but I haven't done it yet. I don't know. I must have had a bad mushroom experience growing up, and it just I just don't want to eat them raw or even on a pizza or anything like that. No, I've always avoided them. But are there any last questions you want to address? We are at the end of our time.
Yeah, whatever. It's a random thing. So Kelly brought up not doing a whole bunch of things all at once because then you don't know what's working. And I totally acknowledge that. But here's the flip side of that argument. It doesn't matter what's doing it. What matters is you get better, right? We don't, at some level, it doesn't matter what's doing it. So and sometimes it's because things are working together. So if you only try one or two separately, you'll never know, well, what if I had taken them all together? So I actually do recommend a bit more of a shotgun, 3, 4, 5 things all at once, because we don't know for sure what'll work or what works together. And then you can always take one thing away at a time and figure out, was it just one piece of that? So yeah, I don't know. That's been my experience, that is pretty important. So I just thought I would throw that out there because that was a great question or a great thing to riff off. So thank you, Kelly, for bringing that up.
Awesome. And I want to address one question. Some people ask me, James, what supplements do you take? So every morning I take my Renadil. It's stored in the refrigerator right behind me here in my office. I take that. I was taking a CoQ10 tablet. These are the ones I was taking. These are horse pills. These are gigantic. I don't know if you've seen these ones, but hold on. These are massive. This is huge, gigantic.
It's pretty big. Yeah.
But since I started the Renadil multivitamins, I've stopped these because it's got CoQ10 in it. So I just chew 2 of those in the morning. I'm trying to think, are there any other supplements I take? I think those are the only supplements that I currently take. Then I got a long list of prescription meds: blood pressure, uric acid, cholesterol, and who knows what else. Oh, statin. There's a whole list of them that I take. But my blood pressure looks great. Fantastic. Always under 120. Over 80, close to the 80 is pretty much where that bottom number stays. And I think that it's been great for my kidneys. So I kind of just keep things where they are and keep taking those every day. I use an app that is fantastic at bugging me. If I got to tell it I took the pills, it keeps beeping my watch, it's beeping the phone. I can't go a day without missing unless I have all my tech gone, which is fantastic. But I just wanted to answer that real quick. Now we are out of time. This has been extremely interesting. I've learned a lot. I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to copy the transcript so I can get all the different things you talked about. I tried typing. I got a whole bunch of web pages open. Got to bookmark all these.
Yeah, gave you a lot of homework there.
I'll add the links to these websites that Dr. Yarnell mentioned in the notes of the video, probably tomorrow or this week. It's a very busy week here. And that way you guys can all, easily find those sites. But I'm looking forward to rewatching this once things kind of slow down. I've got I got to go to do jury duty next week, and I'll probably re-listen to this while I'm waiting. I know. And I have to drive so far away. It's like 45 minutes each way. Not looking forward to it. But thank you so much for being here tonight, sharing all this information. It's been fantastic. And for those of you that are interested in, we talked about Renadil. Last time you were on, we talked about Renadil also and the importance of gut health. There is a link right down there below. I popped it up on the screen where you can get it. And someone's saying, James, how do I contact you? There's a contact page on dadvicetv.com. Little simple form, and it goes right to my email. All right, thank you so much. And everybody, I will be back at least next Friday with Dr. Rosansky. And I'm trying to see when my schedule opens up to get that's all over my water bottle. The Enlisted Kidney Foundation. Get them back on to talk about Dean's story, what he did. We learned about his amazing past and the organization he founded to help enlisted vets get help with kidney disease. But he's going to share what all he did to, prevent going on dialysis. Thank you so much again, and I'll see all of you in the next video. Bye, everyone.